Reader mail.
Number 15. Hello and welcome everybody to Reader Mail number 15. For those that don't know, I'm Saul Bridges and alongside me is
Mr. Brett Beck.
And this is our offshoot of our normal episodes of Triangle Squared, a PlayStation podcast where we ask you guys to ask us questions and we answer them every other Friday at supposed to be 5 p.m. Central Time. It's always noon Central.
I thought we agreed they changed it. My bad.
Somebody pull back the video and prove us wrong.
Yeah, I thought that we discussed it on an episode and pulled it, but
I don't know.
I could be wrong.
You'll see it at either 12 p.m. or 5 p.m. Central Time. For those that don't know, we are part of Triangle Squared, a PlayStation podcast. You can catch those episodes every Monday at noon Central Time as well across YouTube and all of its platforms. We also have a Patreon link in the description below. If you like our channel and want to support it, head over there. You'll get stuff like this a day early. And we're working on getting other things early as well, such as actual episodes of Triangle Squared. That kind of stuff maybe perhaps the audio version of it earlier or something. That's kind of up in the air right now, depending on where I will be in the next month or so. But we ask you guys to ask us questions on Facebook, Twitter, and Discord. And this week, it's going to be somewhat of a short episode. We only have about 15 questions total. And we're
considering that last week's was like a 2-hour long episode,
and
I think this balances it out.
And we're starting just a tad late, so we are on a little bit of a time crunch here, but we're still going to get to all the questions that deserve to be answered. So, as we always do. So, a little bit of a remedy real quick to fix is that our good buddy in person and local streamer Felipe, he asked us 2 questions that did not get answered because we put them in a Google Keep to answer them for the very first one for last week, and we just completely forgot about it because we don't typically go into Google Keep during these episodes. So we are, Felipe, going to answer your questions first, and then we're going to hop over to Facebook, and then we're going to hop back to Discord. But his first question is, what games would just feel wrong not to play on a PlayStation controller? Main ones that get me are Devil May Cry and any old Squaresoft games like Final Fantasy VII. Playing Metal Gear on Xbox would just feel weird. Crash Bandicoot 2. That's actually a really good question because he hit the nail on the head with Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, I agree on that one too. I was going to ask if you ever played the Xbox
The collection?
version.
Oh, it's terrible. The collection on Xbox, I don't know what it is about the controls, but the controls are wrong.
Well, some of it comes down to the fact that the 360, whenever it hit around that, the 360 did not have the pressure-sensitive buttons that the PlayStation had. Now,
Gotcha.
Ironically enough, PlayStation 4 doesn't have that anymore either.
Yeah.
That's something they've decided to go away from. So if they ever actually release that on, if they ever come to release those exact same games on PlayStation 4, you're going to have a very similar problem of it feeling entirely wrong because there's no pressure sensitivity.
Yeah, and he, for those, he actually did list another one that I agree with, which is Devil May Cry. That does kind of feel weird on Xbox. I played Devil May Cry 4 on Xbox, as well as the original DMC collection, and it just felt off. Something about it. It wasn't necessarily the controller at fault, but I think it had to do with the button sequences and the button prompts becoming unfamiliar. It's not something that you're used to seeing, so it just feels off in that sense. But coincidentally, he listed Final Fantasy VII, which I actually have played on the Switch a fair amount, and I don't have a problem with that on the Switch. I think that comes down to a majority of Final Fantasy games that I've played have been on Nintendo systems. Final Fantasy 6, 1, 2, 3.
It was just, there was a really long stint from 7 to 12.
10 for me.
Of them only being on either PlayStation or PC eventually, depending on which game you're talking about.
And to be fair, there were offshoots of Final Fantasy. There were side games like Crystal Chronicles and such that came out too, but no mainline games.
Yeah.
So for me, for Final Fantasy, it doesn't really feel off.
Well, and you're still talking about a Nintendo console, so it's something that feels at home for you on, whereas
off on a PlayStation controller, I should say.
Xbox literally felt... It was. I can only imagine how weird it was for people who mainlined Final Fantasy on the PS consoles up until the 360, and then decided for whatever reason to go with 360, which plenty of people did early gen.
There was no Final Fantasy on 360, was there?
13.
Oh,
it
yeah,
was
you're
the
right.
first
time.
I
played 13.
It was.
No, I played it on PS3.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, I was surprised. For some reason, I thought you played that alongside Big Seth, which would have been on 360.
No,
right?
I watched him play it, but I never played it then. I played it when I first moved into my first apartment.
Yeah, well, that was a big deal because that was the first time that a Final Fantasy game was going to hit, and not only was it going to hit PlayStation or Xbox, which was already it was considered like a de facto PlayStation exclusive, but it was going to hit day and date.
Yeah.
Which was going to be a really because one of the other games that kind of did that, but they always came to Xbox just way later was the Grand Theft Auto games, and I don't know if you remember back in 2005 or 6 when they were, I think it was 5, I think it was before the console even came out for the Xbox. They were talking about Grand Theft Auto 4 will be a day and date drop same day on Xbox as it was PlayStation. So that was a weird time period where you were losing a lot of de facto exclusives. And I think this question does kind of come down to that. What are games that were just, because PlayStation was in such a power position throughout PS1, and then you look at the PS2, and it was a little bit different than that too, right? Some of the games they got were specifically due to how PlayStation 1 worked in regards to how Nintendo 64 worked.
Yeah.
And because there was really no other big person in the gaming space at the time, as we were watching Sega come early with the Dreamcast, that was considered the same generation, 6th gen of consoles, same as the PS2 and Xbox. We saw them come early and fail quickly. So instead, you see for the most part the competition was Nintendo, PlayStation, and the reason that you see some of these games become de facto exclusives to begin with all rest on the fact that the Nintendo 64 was not made for some of these games to work the way they did just due to amount of memory, because you're dealing with a cartridge that has a lot less static storage on it, which is just how much you can store, but also the way that they render things. The Nintendo could render a long way, but it just couldn't store that many textures, so all the stuff looked bland. Do you remember the first time that you played Ocarina of Time on 64? It was amazing in a lot of ways because it was like this huge open world. But if you really go back and look at it and play the 64 version now, it is the most bland looking thing.
It's very flat. The textures are very flat.
The grass texture is a literal repeat.
Yeah. Yeah, and the grass texture actually rotates with you. It's a standing 5 strands of grass, and it's a completely 2D image. And if you circle it, it literally rotates around with you.
Yeah, it was a really weird
Halo
time period.
1 did that too.
There was a couple of games that have done it. I mean, we still saw that up into the PS3. Thankfully, we don't see that anymore.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think that was the weird time. Is that most of the games that we consider to be odd to play on another system, even though they technically exist there now, it all came from PlayStation not only being the place to go during the PS2, but specifically the fact that the PS1 works so vastly differently. The reason that the Square games came over was because they wanted huge games with a lot of different variety, and you could not get that on the Nintendo 64 no matter what you did. And then we saw the PS2 come, and the PS2 was just, well, we've already started this and it's doing more of the same and it's selling millions. Why would we worry about breaking that trend? But yeah, I think for me, going back to the heart of the question outside of that is the game that I had to imagine would have felt entirely weird for me would have been Kingdom Hearts. Because I have an Xbox and I've had one off and on throughout this generation. I
can see that, yeah.
I don't know how I could have played Kingdom Hearts 3. It's honestly weird playing Kingdom Hearts 3 on a DS. Like whenever they
came... Are you playing Kingdom Hearts 3 on a DS?
Oh, sorry, Kingdom Hearts, yeah, on a DS. When they came out with those games, it was just like a little bit of a shell shock.
That might be for me too, where it's not weird, is that I played Chain of Memories when it first came out.
I did too, but I think the reason it didn't affect me is it was such a different game, because it's very much like you said with the Final Fantasy side shoots.
Being that young when that came out, because I think I was 13 when that game came out, maybe 14, that... It kind of just ingrained in my memory that was one of the home consoles for Kingdom Hearts, and it ended up being the secondary console, which is crazy.
Sure, yeah.
Where some of the most important games
Game Boy, PSP, DS, 3DS. Those are they definitely that series had a long hold on the handheld consoles. I think for me, that's probably my biggest one. I will definitely agree that, like you've already said, Metal Gear Solid is one of the most point-outable ones, because it's a game that literally built into the hardware, or mechanically leaned into the hardware it had available to it with pressure-sensitive buttons.
Yeah.
And because the mechanics are built around that, when you go to play it, like you said, it's even hard to, if you didn't know that PlayStation had pressure-sensitive buttons, it's almost hard for you to even think about it, because it happens second naturally.
Yeah.
But the moment you're going to control it doesn't have it, and you go to hit, you're like, why is it? It's technically doing what I wanted it to do, but not the way I wanted it to do it.
And it's really weird with me too. I am a really picky person when it comes to stuff like really small things in games, and just the smallest kind of caveat of a game will turn me off of it. There's a weird running animation in Star Ocean that came out on PS4, and I was like, I couldn't play the game because of it. It was like I saw it and it bugged the hell out of me, and I just couldn't do it. On PC, I was playing through Dark Souls 3, and even though I was playing with my PlayStation 4 controller using DS4 Windows, which I of course have done time and time again on my PlayStation, the controller felt at home. The prompts on the PC did not, because they were the Xbox prompts. I actually went out and bought an Xbox One controller
just to fix it.
Mm-hmm. And coincidentally enough, I didn't have any problems with it. That actually was a flawless transition. And when I'm trying to claw, whenever I speedrun, I have to reach my index finger around the back of the controller and hit options or start to open up the menu so I can keep running while I'm in the menu navigating with the D-pad. Mm-hmm. It's easier on Xbox, which is crazy. I'm curious how it's going to be on my Astro controller. But his second question is in the vein of a Final Fantasy conversation. One we may not be able to discuss too expansively just due to the nature. He said, because I'm selfish and I want more Final Fantasy conversation, what scenes most excite you, or are you most excited of getting remaked? Here's to hoping they touch more Crisis Core backstory. So I personally know people who watch this that haven't played Final Fantasy VII. There's a couple of them in our Discord. I think there's only 2 of them. I don't want to say any scenes because that will be a spoiler for them, even though it's that weird problem of it, like a 15-year-old game.
It is, man.
I don't want to spoil it though.
It's almost like that thing where it's like it's so old that you expect everyone to know it, but it's also just past that threshold where there's plenty of people who could have come into gaming a little bit later than other people.
Yeah, and that's
or on a different system, and it just missed them.
And that's the ones I think that it reaches our Discord. Now, I can be vague about them. One is going to be a memory, and this is strictly Final Fantasy VII. One is going to be a memory. One is going to take place in a very pretty, holy building. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, well, that's important, and that's a big scene.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with you there. That's something that you feel like is monumental to get remade.
Being vague about
How
that,
do you
too,
handle that?
Works really well because there's a lot of scenes that happen in that place that you could not really...
But if you know...
you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. I do agree, though, that I hope they touch on more Crisis Core backstory.
If I'm being honest, I mean, outside of the ones that you said, and because I want to be a little bit more coy about 7, I think I'll talk a little bit more about Crisis Core. And there's a lot of ways. I'm not going to go too much.
No, I wouldn't even do that because once again, we don't know what's in 7 that's added time.
Yeah,
because I don't like. I really want to talk about
something we could say that ends up being true in 7 and feels like it was a spoiler on our part.
Well, we still don't know the extent of Crisis Core in 7. We don't know.
We don't know if it's happening at all.
40 hours for the first 4 hours of the game. You would lead you to believe that you may play a prelude of sorts that would be 7 Crisis Core. I'm hoping that. I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
What a marketing tool that would be, though,
I don't
right?
know what that is.
That would essentially be the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah.
You remember? It's like you come into this game thinking like, boy, it's Metal Gear Solid 2. you come into this game, you come into this game and like, your boy's about to play as blah, blah, blah. Then you just come in.
To be fair, you can get through both of them in roughly, you can get through the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 2 in maybe
2 hours if you're really good.
Absolutely not.
Oh, dude, the first time you do it, it's like 4.5 hours.
It is. You can get through that part in less than an hour.
Maybe. I don't know, man.
If you know where to go, what do you mean?
I recently played it. I don't think it was that quick for me. Hour and a half, maybe?
There's nothing that holds you back, really, if you know where to go.
Well, it's not about that. It's that there are certain things you have to wait to happen because you're moving through the days. So it's just literally like bare minimum. If you know exactly where to go, it still takes some time.
Maybe. But... yeah, like I don't want to say much more just in case the people who are going to play that for the first time. I don't want to spoil it. Now, if it comes back, or if Final Fantasy VII comes out and Crisis Core is not involved at all, we could do a look back and maybe even as an extra video go through Crisis Core and the story and what we like. Essentially, just an extra episode of nothing but our Crisis Core conversations. So we might be able to look forward to that. But I don't want to touch all that just in case because Crisis Core, I think, I at this point in my life, I do like it more than Final Fantasy VII. But it's one of those things there's set things that one or the other do better than each other. So, have you played Crisis Core recently? Nope. I didn't think so. But I was curious because you've recently replayed 7 or at least parts of 7. I got all the way up to a scene in 7 that I was talking about on Switch, and I was like, you know what? I actually kind of was just replaying it. It's like when you want to watch a movie and you start watching that movie and you're like, I kind of wanted to watch this movie just for like 3 or 4 specific scenes, and then
now you're kind of done.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
One thing I've been curious about: how does the how do other platforms? Because I haven't even played it on PS4. I haven't played 7 literally since PlayStation 1, and an emulator on PC at one point in time. But how does the remake, or whatever you want to call it, the remaster, how does it handle disc switching? Does it just skip that and you don't have to do it at all?
Pretty much skips
or is there a part where you have to like? Because like the reason I say that
it's a dead giveaway in the game on when it happens, and it kind of uses that. Like it doesn't,
and it just kind of loads to the next section.
It just doesn't abruptly. Yeah, it's the way they made that game was very smart.
Okay, well I was curious because it's on the PS Classic, and the PS Classic's open button exists for the sole purpose of pretending to do
which is stupid because that's the only one game on there that probably has multiple discs.
I think you're right.
I think there's only 3 games on PlayStation 1 that have multiple discs. That Legend of Dragoon?
There's plenty.
Is there?
There's plenty. A lot of Square games.
Doesn't Legend of Dragoon have 5?
No, Legend of Dragoon I think was 3.
Okay.
I don't. It was very rare that the game was 4. Final Fantasy 9 was multiple disc. 8 was obvious. All of those games were multiple disc.
I keep forgetting that 7, 8, and 9 were.
What multiples. I can't remember, and I don't think it's the case. I can't remember if Tactics was multiple disc. I don't think it was.
Talk about the original Tactics?
Well, on PlayStation.
I don't know. I couldn't see that. That game was such a tiny game in size.
That's what I was about to say.
Because I think it's 500 megabytes at most, which is technically.
Well, it gets hard because technically the PS1 could hold 600 megabytes.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say.
But compression has gotten a lot better.
Yeah, back then 500 megabytes was a whole different ball game.
It's one disc.
Yeah,
but it's still about 100 hours worth of gameplay. But it was
$100,
100 hours worth of gameplay.
Okay.
But no, I guess that makes sense too because you got to think about it. It wasn't 3D. It wasn't doing big mapping textures. It was
kind of 3D.
Yeah,
isometric 3D.
I guess, but what I mean is like in the grander scheme, it was just
technically Final Fantasy 7 wasn't 3D like that though.
Well, actually, Final Fantasy 7 is really weird because it's like 2D backgrounds with 3D characters moving around. Yeah, it's pretty smart how they did it. Actually, all things considered,
3D. Z-axis is weird in that game. All right, go ahead and move on into Facebook.
All right, we got
Thank
Facebook.
you, Felipe. Sorry for the delay.
Josh Drago asks, and technically in one question, he has 2 questions. Which fast food places don't you have in your area but wish they would bring the fast food chain to your town? I think I know the answer for you, at least one of them. If you had to say one very bad thing about California, what would it be? Please be honest. I don't know how you're going to answer the second one because it's just going to be based off of perception more so than actually physically going there. Where I've been to California multiple times now and multiple parts of California. Let's start with the first one. Fast food place that we don't have that you would like.
I'm trying to really think. I'm technically going to say Five Guys is one.
Ooh, Five Guys is a good one. The thing about them is I've always been coy on calling them fast food because
they're definitely fast food.
Well,
technically
they don't have a drive-through.
Some of them do.
Okay, I've never been to one with a drive-through.
There's one in Fort Worth that did. I think it's closed now, but it used to be like where RC lived. He used to have a shopping center, and I forget the bar and grill that I went to that completely messed up. Like, I called the bar and grill, and I put the order in, and they're like, "Oh, that's at the one 16 miles away." I'm like, "What?" I literally clicked the one on Google Maps that was closed because I asked RC which one was closed.
So I wonder if that means that the numbers on Google Maps were switched.
Possibly, yeah.
But I've only ever been to 2 Five Guys. I've been to the one in Freeport multiple times, and I've been to one in Dallas. Five Guys is a great one. I would have imagined between you and Blaze, I hear both of you talk about Jack in the Box enough times that I feel like y'all would want Jack in the Box.
I don't like Jack in the Box. I don't talk about Jack in the Box.
Then I guess there's somebody besides Blaze that I'm confusing you with in that particular regard. Blaze loves Jack in the Box. Every time I've ever eaten there, it's been, I wouldn't pay for that again.
Oh.
And I always eat there because Blaze wants to.
It's not Five Guys that has the drive-thru. It's Jersey Mike's that has the drive-thru, I think. That normally doesn't have a drive-thru.
Okay.
That's my second one, though.
That gets weird, though, too, because technically there's a drive-thru at 30 Burger here in town.
Yeah.
I don't consider them fast food.
I think once you add a drive-thru, it's fast food. Because you call ahead and make an order and you go pick it up.
I guess, but calling ahead, that means Chili's is fast food. You can just go, you can call ahead at Chili's.
Well, they don't have a drive-thru.
And go pick it up. But they've got a side for what do they call it?
Yeah, but you got to get out of your car, pick up, online pickup.
Yeah, but I still don't consider that fast food. Fast food means that you can go order and get it within a 5-minute period.
No, nobody's like that anymore except Wendy's.
Wendy's, so good. Taco
Yeah.
Bell, every time I
Taco
go,
Bell
surprisingly,
sucks ass.
they normally are
No.
incredibly slow, but I've been lucky the past year.
No.
I don't go there very often.
Taco Bell sucks ass. in
My
terms of
breakfast
speed.
every Friday that I get at McDonald's, I'm in and out of
That's
McDonald's in
breakfast at
3
McDonald's,
minutes.
though. That stuff is fairly quick.
Yeah, but my point being, that's where I stand on
So
fast
Jersey
food.
Mike's, I think, would technically count.
I've never had
It's
Jersey Mike's. I've heard of it.
upscaled. I don't want to say Subway because Subway is dirt, but it's upscaled sandwiches, and it's really good.
Is that the place where you got that sandwich that,
That
you sent me a
meatball?
picture of?
Yeah.
Yeah, that does look good.
Yeah,
very
I'm telling
good.
you, that's the best meatball sub I've ever had.
Okay. Well, okay, that's
What
yours.
did you think I was going to answer though?
In my mind, I had you answered at.
Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box.
Oh no, I don't like Jack.
So
in the
I'm
Box.
definitely confusing you with someone else in
No.
that regard. But oh well.
I don't like Jack in the Box at all.
Let's see. If I had to say one for a while, I would have said, and even then, I don't consider it fast food. But if we're going to say that drive-through makes it fast food, I would have said Steak and Shake. But we got that wish, and they did terrible.
Yucky.
And every other Steak and Shake I've ever been to has been phenomenal, and ours has been terrible. So I get. It's a weird one. I don't eat a lot of fast food, and I think we have most of the fast food
Yeah.
that I really want.
The fast food I really only ever eat is Wendy's and Chick-fil-A. It's kind of rare.
see, that's
Raising
kinda me too.
Cane's is
I can't
in
think of
there.
a place that. Man, a lot of people like Zaxby's, but I've been to
I
Hot
hate
Springs and had
Zaxby's,
it.
dude.
I don't like it. I like Slim's way more.
I don't
And-
like Slim's that much.
Well, Slim's
Slim's only has
makes
one-
your stomach bubble, but
Yeah, Slim's only has one thing I really like there, and that's the chicken and waffles.
their chicken and waffles
Their
are so
chicken's
good.
just bland to me.
I think it's good.
It's just that's why I need something to dip in. I don't like either sauces.
Do you like Cane's?
I love Cane's.
See, I don't care for that.
Their
Their
sau-
chicken's bland to me.
but their sauce is what makes it.
See,
Cane's
but
sauce,
I don't like the sauce.
Yeah, that's where you're slipping. See, this is now you understand why I like Cane's and why you can't like, or you get why I don't like Slim's in the sense that you don't like Cane's. It's the same exact thing.
Yeah, I
Good
guess.
food.
Yeah. So what? Well, hold on. What if you had Cane's sauce with Slim's chicken?
That'd probably be good.
You think you'd do it?
I mean, honestly, if I had like Chick-fil-A sauce with Slim's, I'd be good.
Okay,
Which
yeah, I
I
can see
actually
that.
keep like 15 to 20 things of Chick-fil-A sauce in my
At all
cabinet.
times?
Yeah, at all times.
You and Blaze both.
Dip here's a little hack for you guys. Chick-fil-A sauce is normally considered a fry sauce. It's not always just considered a dipping sauce for their chicken nuggets. You could dip fries in it and stuff too. When I worked,
Blaze puts it on his sandwiches.
you put it on your sandwiches, get a Wendy's cheeseburger and dip it in it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
I've
Trust me.
had the Chick-fil-A sauce once. I don't hate it. It seems like it's a buttermilk ranch base.
No,
But I
it's
can't tell.
It's barbecue, mustard, honey mustard,
Is there ranch in it?
mayo. No,
The consistency is way too
you may be getting mayo from it because there's
maybe,
mayo,
but it's way too watery to me. And normally,
and like lemon.
you know how ranch is kind of like normally not thick. It's a little. I'm not trying to say watery, but I mean it's of all the things I feel like outside of mustard might be what it is because you can get some really fine mustard that is kind of it's not very viscous, but it sticks like it's supposed to your
If
fries
you're
and
eating
whatnot.
ranch that's like watery, you probably should eat that ranch.
I'm trying. I mean, it's not watery, but it's kind of like
It's not
milk is not watery, but milk is obviously not as viscous as something else. Like mayonnaise based stuff is normally thick.
Yeah, and I mean the Chick-fil-A sauce is thick. If you dip a fry in it and you hold the fry upside down with it on there, it's not going to drip off.
I had it from Blaze one time, and I mean that's kind of how I remember it. But it's been a long time.
Yeah,
Look,
you definitely need to get it because
I don't have an answer, Josh, because honestly, I prefer because I'm just terribly unhealthy.
Basic.
I prefer going to actual restaurants.
That too.
That's my biggest problem. I've been going to Chipotle a lot more lately because Saul reintroduced me to it, and I think the
good.
biggest thing for me is that the first time I had it just wasn't that great. But I think it's because they didn't have pinto beans. All they had was black beans, and I
yeah.
don't like black beans, man.
I don't like black beans either.
They've come back around for me, but we've got Chipotle, and I'd consider that fast food. You get in and out of there pretty quickly.
Oh, dude, yeah, it's quick.
Now I don't even know if they have a drive-through, but I mean,
they have
not
an
necessary.
app. They have an app you can pick an order and just go up there and grab it. It's super quick.
What's your bad thing about California?
Too many people.
Oh man, that's a great one.
I don't want to. Anybody who knows me knows that like I love going to bigger cities and stuff, but I get exhausted mentally going out with lots of people around me, and just like we talked about it, I think last reader mail when we went to one of the malls in Dallas. That's essentially a big like mile-long circle. And we like the girls left us to go do other stuff, and me and Brett were hungry, and we were having to walk through crowds of people. And I'm like, I want to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
And that's how I know California is like that, where you go down to certain parts of it and you're just surrounded by tons and tons of people. And I don't care for that kind of stuff. That's why I don't really like concerts. I don't really care to be around
places that most people are going to want to be in California,
like Venice Beach,
tend to be quite populated.
Yeah, San Francisco, stuff like that.
The worst experience I've had, and if I had to really say something bad about California, I think that they do a very bad job of, and I don't know what the problem is, and I don't know if it's something that could be easily remedied or not, but I think that they do a very bad job of keeping up with their cities in terms of cleanliness, homeless problem, and I think
it's just so many people.
Some of it comes down to California's weather is really nice for the majority of the year, so a lot of people who end up homeless go there specifically because you can actually do a relatively okay job at begging. It never gets too hot and cool at night. Yeah, and it's kind of like a perfect situation, and it doesn't rain all that much, but you have to deal with earthquakes. But if you don't own a house, then why would you care?
You might have a building you're sleeping next to collapse on you.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. But
it's like Florida. I hate Florida so much, and it's solely because of the weather. It's so humid, and the times I've spent in Florida, it's like sunny, nice out, bam, humidity hits you, and you're like, why is it humid?
See,
and
it's
then
not
dark
like
clouds,
that.
and then rain for 10 minutes, and then sunny again.
It's not like that in the majority of California. It's very nice in that regard. And definitely when you're up against the beach. You get like a beach breeze.
I know Richard lives in Florida, and he loves it, so I could hats off to you, Richard.
I'm going to be a little bit more specific with my time specifically, and I talked about this last reader mail, oddly enough, but in my time in San Francisco, it kind of ties back into that, though, is they don't do, and I don't know why, like I said, but they don't do a good enough job of keeping up with their city and the amount of people it has, giving assistance to people who need it. So, and that's kind of one of the weird things for us, very specifically where we're talking about, not to get crazy political, but I think it's weird for Saul and I and a lot of people who live here to understand some of the things that are going on there, because you have people who are from there, like Elizabeth Warren, saying all these things we need to do, and yet you look at where Elizabeth Warren's from, and it's like, you don't even have your own city under control. But why? I don't know about why. I'm not there, But it's crazy. There's people that they hire and make copious amounts of money to go around and try and be poo picker-uppers, because people poop in the street at such a high rate that there was a need for someone to make an app so that you could in real time get alerts to where you might be going and where poop might be in relation to that.
I couldn't do it.
So like wafts of pee just hitting your face like every 3.5 minutes if you were anywhere downtown was really crazy. So that's
why I said Dallas would be the place I'd move to. Dallas, Fort Worth.
It's like a perfect in between. You get all the stuff that you'd want from that, but none of that. I don't know. It's like it's not as densely populated, I should say. It's got just as many people, but it's a little more spread out. Yeah. Whereas, dude, the craziest thing about San Francisco specifically is it's such a small area, so it's just,
I couldn't breathe.
And the buildings are all tall and constant, multiple people living here. It's very different.
Now that would be something like I could go to New York and be fine for the most part.
Very similar situation, though.
Yeah, but New York is New York, and I think the general mentality of people in California can be more negative to people in New York, even though there's that New Yorker kind of like vibe that you get, like where you're like...
New York would be a shell shock for us, because in New York, there's so many people and they just walk around and no one says like, excuse me or anything like that. It's just, I'm walking.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm walking here. Yeah. That's it. So
all right.
Good question.
Another one from Mr. Josh Shoop. He says, if you could bring back any celebrity at the cost of another, who are you bringing back and who are you sacrificing? Dude, this is a rough question, because anybody that you say is immediately going to be like, do you just hate that person? And there's somebody that I used to would answer for this, but I've grown up and matured a little bit.
What was it?
I
don't know if I have an answer to this. I don't really know of any celebrity I want back.
Tracy Morgan would have been the one that I would give away, because I just can't stand him. But in my time of getting a little older and just realizing, I was like, I just don't like him. And it's literally nothing that from the moment my eyes hit his face, he didn't even say a word. I was just like, I don't like this guy. And then the moment he said something, it was just like it clicked that much harder. I was like, yeah.
I don't see why. Tracy Morgan's hilarious.
Dude, I think he is not funny to me in the slightest. If he comes on a show at all, I turn it off because I don't like it anymore.
So you don't like that one show that's
30 Rock? Hate it.
Yeah. I was gonna say, because
can't stand it.
Man, Tracy Morgan's hilarious,
and it sucks because otherwise I don't mind Tina Fey. She's a little hit or miss with me.
And then Alec Baldwin.
And then Alex
Baldwin, whoever
Alec Baldwin. But yeah, he's funny. So, but
I don't know. I really don't think I have an answer for this, because I don't really think I wouldn't want to be revived if I died.
I have a cheat answer. Here's the thing. You would assume that the celebrity that you'd be bringing back to life, you would probably most people would land on a celebrity who probably died very young. And
well, I was gonna say Carrie Fisher if I said anybody.
really,
Yeah.
I think most people's minds would go towards someone where they feel like they didn't get to live as long and productive as a life as they could have.
Like that?
Whereas somebody like Carrie Fisher obviously did a ton in her career. So I think, common answers you'd see in a situation like this would be like Jimi Hendrix, and a lot of them be musicians because they died a lot.
54 when he died?
No, Jimi Hendrix is in like his late 20s.
Was he really?
Yes,
Who
he's
am I thinking
asphyxiated.
about then?
I don't know.
Freddie
Kurt
Mercury,
Cobain is
maybe.
another one that I'm thinking of. Freddie Mercury was, I think, in his late 30s or 40s when he died.
Really? I thought he was like 50.
No, I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. But my point being, there's a lot of musicians that I think a lot of people would pull because, and here recently you have people like Tentacion, who I don't really have any kind of connection with.
He was 45.
Lil Peep, stuff like that. So when you see people doing all that, it's like, I think most people would want to bring back someone who they feel like their life was ended far too shortly before they really had a chance to do anything with their life. So my thing with that would be, and it's going to sound terrible, but there are people who've been around for a long time and who kind of just live in their life that's like, you know what, they've lived a long, full life and they're just kind of waiting for death now. Those kind of celebrities, and don't get me wrong, I love them to death, but celebrities like Mel Blanc and Betty White, as crazy as that sounds, but Betty White's done everything she's going to do in her career, and she's very old. So if we kind of were just like, you know what, Betty, take one for the team. We love you. We got a ton of work to remember you by.
Isn't Betty White literally older than baked bread or whatever it is?
I think that there's like sliced bread or whatever
Sliced
it was.
bread, I think, and that's really true.
She's 97.
And sliced bread's only like 94 years old or something.
Let's look it up. Older than
100%
sliced
sure.
bread. Let's see. Sliced bread was introduced in 1928. My grandpa was older than sliced bread.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, but
Yeah, so sorry, Josh, I don't think I'm going to answer for this.
who? If I had to, so let's.
I would say probably Freddie Mercury if I had to.
That's what I was going to say.
Take
Take away the sacrificing part. I'm just going to say that for me, I would do it in a way that was like somebody who's old, who's lived their whole life, who's close to death anyway, to bring back someone who got taken really early.
I would say Freddie Mercury or Kurt Cobain. And if you had,
Freddie Mercury, I feel like he lived a long. He lived about half. You know what I mean?
yeah, but
It's like he lived to be close to 50. I'm thinking of somebody in their like 20s.
Kurt
that died.
Cobain, if
know
you
what I
are
mean?
even a slight fan of Nirvana, I highly recommend you read his journal. That sounds really creepy, but like they published his actual journal that is like scanned pages of his handwriting, and it's really good of a read. Like you're pretty much going through his life, and I'm sure anybody who died wouldn't want somebody to do that of them. But it's one of those things that's like you kind of understand the person he was because of that. It's really sad, but it's really good.
Yeah, a lot of stuff like that. Because the people I think about the most, it's really hard to think about somebody who's really young that I just had a big fondness for. Because I think it's hard to build such a fondness for somebody that you don't have years and years and years of their work. It's like I think a lot of people's minds going to spring to people like Robin Williams, who was obviously somebody who had a lot of comedic value left in him.
27. He was 27.
Okay, yeah.
I thought he was 24. Was it? Maybe it was.
I was thinking
Dave
late
Grohl
20s.
was 24 or something.
And was younger
Because
than
I'm
them.
pulling that information from somewhere. But yeah. I honestly would probably say one of those two people, even though those are musicians and not celebrities. I don't know if that really counts. Technically, they were celebrities, but I don't know if he's going for like actors and actresses. If that's the case, Carrie Fisher.
Spring back Heath Ledger. Bam Bam. Bang bang, skeet skeet. I feel like that's a pretty good one, actually. I mean, if I'm being honest, I'm trying to think of people who. I mean, part of me wants to say Chester Bennington because he was in his 40s when he died, but he did a lot too with his life, and you kind of just got to go.
Dave Grohl was 25, so that's probably who it was then.
Okay,
I was probably reading an interview or watching an interview with Dave Grohl.
I could see that.
He was on Howard Stern and played guitar on Howard Stern and talked about it too. It was pretty interesting. It's old. It's back when like Learn to Fly and stuff came out in the late 90s.
Oh yeah,
early 2000s.
Early 2000s.
Yeah. Well, no, that album did come out in 99.
Good Lord, I don't remember.
Pretty sure.
Heath Ledger seems like a pretty good one. He was rather young and a promising actor when he was when that happened. It would have been really interesting to see what was happening with his career in post Dark Knight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious as to where that would go to. Even though, it did come out. There's Nothing Left to Lose in 1999.
There you go. Look at
I
that.
knew it was 90s. It's crazy.
Saul, you're a big Foo Fighters fan, huh? FFF?
I do like FFF. I do like most of their work. Like their older stuff, Monkey Wrench, Learn to Fly.
Yeah, Monkey Wrench is a great song.
All
My Life is a great song.
When they started doing stuff like the Pretenders.
They started to lose me.
Yeah,
they started to lose me pretty heavily. All right, Matt Hunt's got a question. He's
What's
one
up?
of our patrons. He says,
Thank you, my man.
Creamy peanut butter or crunchy?
Didn't we answer this last week?
No, not last week. It's been weeks, maybe even months since we've answered this.
Okay, well, I'll give you the same answer because I know it's the same answer for me.
Creamy.
Creamy if you are going on flavor. Crunchy if you are broken, you need something filling. Get more peanuts, more protein.
Fair enough. All right. Moving up, we have Derek Porter, another one of our patrons. He asked, most gamers are familiar with the large game developer, i.e. EA, Rockstar, Bethesda, etc. Are there any little or unknown developers who deserve more recognition?
The guys who created Death's Gambit.
Oh, yeah. White Rabbit Studios.
White Rabbit, yeah. They originally were with Adult Swim, too.
Yeah, Adult Swim Games is the people who published the game. Yep. Yeah, that's just two people using Game Maker.
Yeah.
Which is a program I actually have quite a bit of experience with from back when I was doing games. It's a lot different now, but I understand a lot of it. There's been a lot of great games made on that. You know what I mean?
Did that game come out this year?
No, Death's Gambit was last year.
Okay. I'm surprised I didn't make it into any. I think I remember talking about it with
substantial updates this year. The problem last year that we had...
I could never beat it because of the crashing. Didn't it crash on my speedrunner, or did I just die that day we streamed it?
You died.
Are you sure?
Yeah, positive.
Okay, because I remember when you get down to the chasm and you turn left and you go left, you hit a wall that like literally will crash my.
Well, you know the one boss I had issues with, like the skeleton dude.
Yeah,
every time I'd start the boss fight, it'd crash. But I got to give the developers a lot of credit too.
They've been constantly updating
They've been constantly updating. But I tweeted and I just said, "Hey, this is an issue I keep having. What's going on?" And both of the people who made the game replied and told me what I could try. And one of the things they mentioned worked.
Well, not only that, you're taking it off Boost Mode, I'm sure, right?
I think it was that, yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that on Twitter. Not only that, but they still, to this day, creators of that game still post trivia on their Twitter that I'll see every now and then.
They just updated it with a new start screen, too.
Really? I want to go back and, like, maybe that'll be the next game I do, because I'm doing a level 1 Dark Souls 3 playthrough. I'm at literally the last boss and kicking my ass. I'm
going to give a shout out to Team Cherry. Which is the team behind Hollow Knight. I think there's been a lot of great games that have been coming from smaller studios. I mean, I really want to give this to very small studios, just a few people working on a game, and Team Cherry is a very, very small group of people. I also want to give a shout out. This is somebody that a lot of people know by this point, but I think it's still important to give them a shout out, which we do all the time. I think No Man's Sky developer Hello Games deserves a lot of credit for what they've done and turning around public opinion on them and carving out a little niche in the game development community.
They're not really small, though, I wouldn't think.
Oh, dude, yeah, they're like 17 people.
Right, but I'm talking about like...
And they were smaller when they started.
Because they were pretty much partnered with Sony for No Man's Sky.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I think Sean Murray used to work for... I want to say it was Criterion.
What? I never heard that.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he was a lead programmer at Criterion. Let me see.
Interesting.
Let's see.
A lead programmer too at that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what was his title at No Man's
Sky? Hello Games. He's the managing director.
Game.
He's the founder and managing director. I'm on his page right now.
It's crazy how he didn't do any real...
Yes. Okay. In 2001, Murray began working as a lead programmer for Criterion Games.
Wow.
And he worked on the Burnout series specifically.
Yeah, I'll say for those that don't know, Criterion has the
and you know what? That kind of makes sense. Do you remember Burnout Paradise? I wonder if he worked on that game. No, that game is great. But the reason I even bring that up is that Burnout Paradise was one of the first games to have an interconnected online world for racing games. That is very much similar to what he was wanting to try and do,
especially
with No Man's Sky.
Of people who are playing, even though technically Forza was out before that game was, and Forza did that.
Well, Forza had ghosts; those are just time trials. Those have been in games for a long time.
Forza, you could see your friends racing beside you.
Forza on the original Xbox.
On the original Xbox.
God, I don't remember that on the Forza games for 360. Though. Did they take that off?
No, that was in there. That's been in every Forza game. It's like whenever I'm playing Forza Horizon 4, whatever it was, 3, whatever the one came out.
Yeah,
and I'll see.
Oh, it's definitely in that.
Yeah,
yes, it's definitely.
That's been in every Forza game.
Now that one's a little different. That one doesn't do it to where you see your friend playing in real time. That looks at your friend's data and makes a racer from their data.
That's what it is. Yeah, that's what it is in every game.
To make better.
But I might be wrong. It might be Forza 2, but I still think that's before Burnout Paradise.
Burnout Paradise was 08.
I think Forza 2 was 06.
Forza 1 was 05, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah, then I might be wrong. Or 07.
Let's see. Forza
sophomore year of high school.
Forza 2 was in 07.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Still before.
I think Forza's always been on a 2-year schedule. Always.
Yeah, for the most part. Because it was...
and then they introduced... Yeah, because Forza 3 was... not Horizon, buttholes. Oh, well.
Well, let's move on through. I think we have 2 more Facebook questions.
If I'm not mistaken,
He said
yes.
5, and I think I've counted 3. And I like these because I don't know. I don't have any idea. I see the Discord ones from time to time because of Discord being on
Oh, we
my
got
phone.
one more because we've done 4.
Oh, okay.
And that comes courtesy of Mr. Where's it at? I just saw it a second ago. I skipped by it somehow. All right, we go. Michael Scott Potter Schneider. If you didn't want your whole name, I'm sorry.
Is that your real name?
I don't know.
I guess that's not a smart question to ask. Since you read his whole name like a dummy.
Why isn't there a Zelda game made by From Software yet?
It is. It's called Breath of the Wild.
Dude, if it came out that From Software developed Breath of the Wild,
people often joke. Breath of the Wild was pretty damn hard for what it was. Early game. I'm telling you, there is okay. You went on a linear path. It sounds like because I got found in the areas with guardians roaming around, one-shotting me.
Yep,
and
I just didn't get hit, but I mean, fair enough.
Oh, I was with 3 or 4 of them. There,
I got hit pretty late game whenever I actually started really screwing around with them and trying to attack them.
Yeah,
like at first it's like I'm obviously not supposed to attack
them. It's easy peasy.
You can get the little blast away.
Yeah, you'll break. No, it'll shoot directly back.
See,
to
if
them
anything, I'd say that breaking weapons was the hardest thing about the game, and it wasn't even that it was hard. It was just annoying. You'd find a weapon you finally liked, and it was just like you had to farm it.
There were some really challenging.
Because I actually really liked the Guardian sword, but it would break super easy.
And I bet you that's not even a common or an uncommon thought too. But realistically,
that the game's hard.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe I don't know,
but yeah, like honestly, I wouldn't want a From Zelda game. I like the Dark Souls high fantasy much better. It does it much better for the world that it's set in.
Well, I don't think that the From team, the weirdest thing about it comes down to the fact that it would be interesting to see what they would do having to pull themselves back for a Zelda game, because Zelda games aren't really about copious weird things like they are. If you look at
vague things.
Well, there's that too, but I also mean weird things. I mean, like there's plenty of things in not only Dark Souls, but in Bloodborne, obviously. Bloodborne to the extreme. That is just like...
Darkseeker Darkseeker, I could buy their names. Darkstalker Kaith. It's literally, I don't know if you know what that is. I know it's been a while since you've played Dark Souls 1, but that is the big serpent.
Yes. Yeah, I remember.
It's just the creepiest looking thing.
Yeah. What's the name of that area too when you're in just the pitch blackness?
The Abyss.
The Abyss, yeah.
What the hell is that?
God, I hate that place. Can't see a damn thing. Okay. Is that a potato?
No, that was like a eel or something underwater.
Oh, okay. Anyway, yeah, you know, on the topic of From Software making something different,
Elden Ring.
Elden
Ring.
Well, Elden Ring, yeah, but I'm talking about earlier in the Discord. I think it was, it was Swanlin, Stefan, one of our patrons. He was talking about From Software making a Metroidvania style game.
Yeah, and you did say like it'd be cool. It's essentially what Dark Souls is, but just 3D.
And I said that. To be fair,
I know, but then you said make a 2D version of it. I was like, I don't want a 2D version of it.
Well,
Salt and Sanctuary sucked.
But here's the other thing. Well, Salt and Sanctuary wasn't that great.
I know, but it wasn't made by From, but it still sucked.
But Death's Gambit being the same thing was great.
Not the same thing though.
How not? If anything, Death's Gambit might have even been more of a Metroidvania.
Than Dark Souls or
than Dark Souls, and realistically, even Salt and Sanctuary.
No. I mean, from a 2D standpoint and from a 2D standpoint only, but not from mechanics and stuff like that.
Well, I mean more of a thing. One of the things I'll say about Dark Souls that's a little different than a typical Metroidvania is that there's not as much of a you've got to go and come and get this thing and you can get it in. I mean, it exists to an extent. Like you can run around for the most part, most of the areas and grab weapons and whatnot in your own order and leisure. Within a pretty good extent. You have to somewhat follow a little bit of a pattern here and there sometimes, depending on what you need. And that's true of Metroidvanias as well. But Metroidvanias are a lot about backtracking back to an area and just going someplace that you have a new ability to go to. And that's a little different. Huh?
You're disgusting.
How?
I smell it.
I did not do anything.
Something died in here just a second ago then.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I just thought you farted.
No. I would own it if I did.
Do you really not smell that?
No?
We might be having technical difficulties in the middle of the show, I think.
Is your microphone on fire? I would own it up, man, but I don't smell anything, first of all. But if it smelled that bad, I'd be like, yeah, let me kill you. Another thing would be as bad as Blaze in the bathroom that one day.
It smells like that.
You aren't here, but you can.
I could smell from home.
Anyway. But I would like to see them do something like that. But I guess the thing across the board is, what would you do to make From Software? And this sounds like a weird thing, but I think by forcing them to kind of scope themselves back and do something a little bit out of their comfort zone on purpose, they could end up making a pretty interesting game. And I think that Zelda is because of the way they set the world up, it's a series that's rife for possibility to make anything they want to. And I think that's why the ideas like Cadence of Hyrule work so well.
As long as they do it with a difficulty curve that's massive like Dark Souls, and you have good lore hidden in items, I'll love it. If it's literally like a Zelda skin version of Dark Souls, then perfect. if it's like a Dark Souls or a Zelda
you could do
version,
that, because the bigger thing is how does it add to the lore, and do you want them to be very straightforward with it?
It could be
like the Zelda games tend to be, or would you want them to be traditional from software, keeping it with the idea of something that would fit in the Zelda lore, but keeping it with the style of telling the lore that the Dark Souls games always have? Is that kind of what you'd want?
Yeah, that's. I wouldn't know where it fit in the timeline or anything, or like where it could fit. It could be an offshoot, or
I mean, it can kind of fit anywhere, considering that Breath of the Wild currently has no place in the Hyrule Historia.
It does.
No, the developers have specifically said that it's got nowhere. Now, Breath of the Wild 2 is apparently going to work towards putting it somewhere.
It's the Breath of the Wild 2 is apparently putting it in the timeline with Twilight Princess, which I believe is the adult timeline.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean,
because the Ganon in that cavern is the exact same Ganon from Twilight Princess.
Yeah, that's what it looks like at least.
Ganon.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Anyway, good question.
Yep.
Thanks, sir.
No, like I said, no questions on Twitter, but I do want to give a shout out to Sean One Neo because he did thank us for answering his questions. And no problem, buddy. Thank you for being a patron and enjoying our show. We're gonna move over. Excuse me. We're gonna move over to Discord, where we only have about 10 questions, something like that. But we start off with our good buddy Oathkeeper Kiki. He is also a patron, and he says, "Which game series do you like more, Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, or Nier, and why?"
I thought we answered that one at the end of last one.
Did we? No, we answered Switch Lite. Did we answer that one?
Yeah, I'm fairly positive.
Well, Kiki, let us know if we answered.
Well, hold on, I'll tell you. Yeah, we definitely did, because it was part of the cutoff. Yeah, we should have.
Okay.
If we didn't, we can say it again. Look, if we have to keep, which one do I like more? Nier Automata.
Devil May Cry because I never played the first Nier.
The reason I say that
is
he
said series.
But Nier Automata isn't technically a series, but I guess
it's 2 games. It's
and then
series.
do you include Drakengard in with that? Because
then
I definitely
the same universe.
Sure. Yeah, I'd say Nier and Drakengard series. But I think the reason we answered it is I remembered bringing up the fact that it's all Platinum games, and that's why it's an interesting question.
It is.
So
if
we
never played Bayonetta, though.
There you go. You have another answer. I saw you still need to play Nier 1. And I genuinely, I constantly hope for a remake to come, or even a remaster, because I even think it's worth playing the original.
60 frames per second on PS3?
It is 30.
Okay.
Because it was made by Cavia. It is not made by a developer. The only Nier game, or Drakengard series game, to ever be 60 frames per second was Automata. And that's just because of who it was made by. Smart decision.
Even then, I don't think it was stable at 60 frames per second. I think it was like 45. But
I don't know. It didn't feel rough to me at all.
It felt rough to me my very first time playing through. I did notice
the only time I ever had a frame drop was at the end when you're switching between, and that's just because it's doing a lot, and it wasn't even massive.
I ever had a noticeable frame rate drop, except actually, you know what? No, I don't think I did. If I did, it was during the desert boss. That boss.
The orb. Yeah. I got you. Okay.
Why don't you read his record? I'm going to check out my battery over there and make sure it's not burning.
God. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Your battery bank. All right. Kiki's next question, and he is one of our patrons in case we didn't get that out. Saul's over there shaking the camera.
I don't know where near the camera.
It's just where the floor is right there, even though this is concrete. Clapping the earth. So, Take-Two, Rockstar's father company, wants them to make games with less content so they can shell them out faster. Do you guys think they should, or should they continue to deliver on big, detailed games?
Big, detailed games. No brainer about that one.
I will say this. I think that there's a lot of stuff that's in, and don't get me wrong, I really did enjoy the game. I think there's a lot of stuff in Red Dead that did not need to be there across the board. Now, what I mean by that is I think that there's a way that you could get them to somewhat cull down what they do and be more efficient and make a game that's a little bit more like focused and knowing what it is, but still keeping, obviously with what they do, their games are all about being big, having massive amounts of content and a lot of freedom in your world. Now, I think there's some layers that really did not need to be there in Red Dead Redemption 2. And if you've played it, I mean, it all just, everybody's different. But either way, I think it comes down to
too detailed is the problem.
And I think too detailed for for not the betterment of the game.
I honestly think,
You know
in
what I
terms
mean?
of my preferences, the details in Grand Theft Auto 5 were better. It was still massively detailed, but it wasn't sloggingly detailed. Like, it wasn't one of those times in which I jumped in and I'm like, you know what? It takes me a little bit too long to do this because I have to do that kind of thing. Where in Red Dead it did.
Well, and you have two games that are about two vastly different things, right? Grand Theft Auto has always had an air of unrealisticness about it. And one of the things they seem to be keen on doing with Red Dead Redemption 2 was making sure that they made it as realistic as possible. And that was very different from what you expect from a Rockstar game. Even Red Dead 1, it was like they would give you some leniency here and there to make the game fun from a game aspect. But one of the things they did with Red Dead was made sure it was so realistic that you appreciated it in a very different way. And I don't know if that was for the betterment of the game across the board. I think a lot of it was. I enjoyed the game a lot more than Red Dead 1. Even though I did not beat Red Dead 1, I played about 5 to 7 hours, I would imagine. It's been so long, it's hard to completely remember. But, I think that the biggest thing is that they stand to make a lot of money, but that game got constantly delayed and cost a ton to make.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ways for them to call that back and maybe take a year off the game so that they can get a year somewhere else on another game. And just, you got to think that money matters, realistically. Hard to say.
He does have another question here. I'm actually going to hold back because it is an interesting question. He says, are you guys afraid of Final Fantasy VII R not delivering like Kingdom Hearts 3 did? For example, hype was built for Kingdom Hearts 3, and once it released, it didn't fully deliver like we thought it would in the end. So we never did a Kingdom Hearts 3 impressions video.
No.
It's way past the due date for that to become even relevant. So what I want to do is that in the slower next couple of weeks / months, we're going to have harder times finding topics that aren't just a completely opinion-based topics, and I want to keep that for one. And it's going to be Hype V2, and it's going to be reflecting back on what we said in the very first Hype episode, even though I don't want to say V2 because we just did random V2, but we can reflect back on what we said in the original Hype episode, coincidentally about Kingdom Hearts 7 or 3 and Final Fantasy 7, and then reflect on how Kingdom Hearts 3 felt with us and what we're anticipating with Kingdom Hearts 7.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, Kingdom Hearts 7.
Kingdom Hearts 7. Are you going to save that?
Yeah, I saved it already. It's in Google
Good.
Keep.
Gotcha.
Our good buddy, long-time viewer, long avid question extraordinaire, El Chabib, he says, what in your opinion is the best gaming-related clothing store? Any favorites or recommendations? It's not necessarily gaming related because you can go find any genre of entertainment on it, but TeePublic is the best. I have had it's a Dark Souls shirt. I've worn it numerous times. It has Sif, the Great Wolf from Dark Souls 1, jumping through, and he has his sword in his mouth just like he does in the game. It has Dark Souls on it in like a metal style font. I've had that shirt for almost 3 years now, and that shirt was... You got to get the best quality. I think it's $22. They'll say like premium cotton and there's an upcharge for it. Get that. That shirt has not faded. It hasn't cracked and crinkled all over the graphic. You could still see what it is. $22.
I actually really like that shirt. I've been meaning to ask you where you got it from.
It's fan made, and all of TeePublic's fan made. It's not really officially licensed, and you can go find. There's one I was going to show you that I'm going to order soon, and it is Dark Souls, but it's done in the it's Demon Days album art from Gorillaz, but it's all the characters of Dark Souls, and instead of saying Demon Days under it says Days of Lordran or something. No, well, what does it say? It says something, but it's a really cool shirt, and I really like it. Oh, it says Lordran at the top instead of Gorillaz, and then it says Dark Days at the bottom. But yeah, look at how sick that shirt is.
Oh yeah, that is pretty cool.
But
see, white shirts though, I don't like that.
No.
I'd rather be a black shirt.
You can literally select your color shirt, and then this.
So it's very much like Redbubble, I think is the name of it.
Yeah, you can go to premium t-shirt, and it's $24. It's $24. It doesn't shrink. It's so comfy.
I gotta go let somebody in because they're here with a kid that's gotta pee.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be right back.
It's a very comfortable shirt that I wish I actually got a size up because it fits me so well. I wear a size large, and it really fits me perfectly. It's such a soft cotton that I wish that I had a larger size so I could lounge around it and stuff. I don't really like lounging around in fitted style shirts. But realistically for me, that's really it. tpublic.com. You can go in and type in any game ever, and they'll more than likely have a shirt on there for you. They have stickers and stuff too, for what I remember seeing. But other than that, I don't like officially licensed stuff. Nintendo makes some pretty crappy products in terms of officially licensed shirts and stuff like that. apparel wise. But
what's the problem with licensing, right? It costs so much to license anything that people cheap out. And
I'm talking about official Nintendo apparel.
Yeah, but I mean across the board. Even when you get any kind of officially licensed clothes, they tend to not be as good as quality as something like that. And it gets weird. I know that in a lot of ways, the whole point of doing a licensed product is that you can support the people who actually put the money behind publishing the game, or the developers, depending on who it is.
Not a lot of people that do that, though, that license out apparel.
Yeah, but what I like about what you're doing is that in a way, yeah, it's skirting, and maybe that money is somewhat deserved to at least partially go to the people who created what it is that you're making a design off of. But at the same time, it's like you're getting to support an artist, you're getting a better shirt out of it. You get more freedom because you can control color and everything, and it's just printed how you want it. I think the options make it a lot better, but
right, that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't have any, obviously.
Yeah, I thought that.
I wear band shirts probably more than anything. So.
Yeah, Hot Topic is pretty much the place to go for that, or it used to be.
They used to be a good place for shirts for gaming, but they just didn't hold up in quality.
The quality for all their shirts are pretty terrible.
They used to have a dope God of War 3 shirt, but
and not only that, they've gotten worse and worse with the quality of their shirts and designs of their shirts. The only design that they've made in the past 5 years that I've really cared to like is the new Junji Ito stuff they came out with like a year ago, which was really cool.
Which, it's not their designs, but it's stuff that they're choosing to put in their store. So I guess in a way it is.
Kiki says, what's your favorite video game relationship of all time?
Ooh.
That's easy for me. Easy peasy.
Who's yours?
9S and 2B.
You know what? That's a pretty good one.
It's a very tragic relationship.
But what gets weird about that is, and it's actually part of why I like it so much. I'm not going to go too much into it in case you haven't played Nier Automata specifically. But what I like about it so much is that it's a relationship that's kind of hard to tell just how amicable it is. It's like in some ways, sometimes it feels like a one-sided relationship, and then other times it feels like
that's what's so good about it. And the times that 2B lets 9S in, it's like that's cool. I like that.
I got to say, for a Japanese game, it actually exceeded my expectations, and I think that for the most part, anime and Japanese-based content do handle relationships pretty well, but I think sometimes they'll lean towards some slightly unrealistic manners. But what I like so much about this game is it was so grounded in real back and forth of people. It's like not trusting, and it's talking about specifically who 2B is as a character, and then the game expounding on why she's like that specifically toward 9S, because you think she's just cold-hearted bitch, but no, she's not.
There's a reason,
and then especially and it's a great reason
when she breaks by those reasons and is like, I'm sorry, or is like and says something nice to him, and he's like, what, ma'am? And she's like, nothing. It's just like, I like that.
It really that's a really
it's
great
like seeing
Dr.
Cox be nice to JD.
Yes,
it's the exact same relationship.
what a great that's a really good comparison.
But
that's a great one
for me.
Honestly, I kind of want to steal that one, but I'm not going to.
I mean, you can steal it. It's up to you. What's your favorite?
I'm going to throw you a
cliche ass one like Joel and Ellie. So go ahead.
Huh?
What?
No, not Joel and Ellie. Even though that is a good one. The word relationship is pretty weird, right? Is it a father-daughter?
No,
is it what? That gets to be a weird thing.
Any form of relationship between two people.
Yeah, I mean that's what a relationship technically is. Friendship
like a romantic relationship, a father-daughter bond.
Then I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go in a slightly weird.
Kratos and Atreus.
I'm gonna go in a slightly weird way, but it's gonna be another Japanese game that does it weirdly well, and it's gonna be Sora and Riku. And there's a really good reason for that.
Yeah, that's actually kind of good.
Like I've said multiple times,
dive.
One of the great things about Kingdom Hearts to me is that when I played it at such a young age, and I have a father who definitely at the time was very much manly man, all these weird expectations, and it was kind of nice to have somebody who's kind of like that. And my parents were divorced by the time I was playing this anyway. But, it's like when I'm at my dad's house, it's all about, I felt like he had an expectation of what I was supposed to be. And I didn't always agree with what he wanted me to be. Yeah. And in some ways, he didn't push too hard. Like, he didn't care if I played sports, but he still had some expectations, or at least I had the feeling that he had expectations of what I should be as a man. And coming up, a lot of people that I know, definitely in the South, have really weird times being close friends with people, to the point where I see this across the board. Both of my parents don't really understand friendships that I've had, to the point where, like, there's been multiple situations where my mom's been like, does Blaze love you? Do you love Blaze? And like specifically asking, like, are you gay? And just not coming out with it. I'm like, Mom, I just don't know how to describe this to you.
That's a sad life to not have a friend like that.
It's like that's why I even told my mom, I was like, you know how sad it is to me that you don't have a friend that you feel like you love through everything.
Yeah.
No, and take every bit of that. It's a platonic love, but you love them and you want to see everything go well with them. You like seeing them, all that stuff. But it's like, and growing up, one of the great things about Kingdom Hearts is it kind of was the thing that I got to see as a kid that exposed me to the fact that those types of relationships should be normal.
Why you got like a 1950s dress hanging out that closet?
Because I opened the closet earlier in a hurry.
That's real creepy.
It's a ghost.
Okay.
Yeah. They used to be Grandpa's closet, so I mean.
Yeah. Is that actually a dress?
Yes, it is.
That's very creepy.
Yeah. I think it was my Aunt Allison's wedding dress.
That's like something you see in The Conjuring.
Bam, bam, bam. Yeah, because it's like an arm in a corner.
Yeah,
it's like a ghost sticking its arm out of the closet. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts is definitely there. Taught me how to be a good friend, I would say.
Which is coincidentally what the whole series is about. Kiki says, if Final Fantasy VIII gets a physical release, would you guys want a Final Fantasy VII art demo included with it? Since they did that with Typo, having the 15-episode Duske included with the game. Sure. We could release another terrible Final Fantasy game with a demo of a potential good one.
You know what, Saul? One of these days, you're going to get over the fact that Final Fantasy VIII is a great game.
Somebody's going to stab me for talking so much crap about Final Fantasy
Here's what I'll say, actually.
I don't hate Final Fantasy VIII.
Bare minimum, Final Fantasy VIII is at least a good game.
It is. It's a running joke at this time. I got to shit all over it.
I know you do.
And Squall, Leonhardt.
I know that you've got to love all over the Surge because it's your favorite game in the world.
I hate the Surge.
These are the things.
These are inside jokes. Sean,
yes, though, to answer the question, I do want that because I think it's a great tactic. Honestly, I was really surprised. Definitely. Honestly, I was surprised that considering we learned so much about Final Fantasy VII Remake when we did, I'm really surprised they didn't include something about it in Kingdom Hearts 3. But I guess that just goes to show how much they wanted it to be just Kingdom Hearts. It might have been because they wanted to see how Kingdom Hearts sold without there being any kind of an outside thing. The thing about Type 0, including Final Fantasy 15, and it only served to help its sales. It was a niche game getting remade in the West getting remastered in the West where it never came out. It was kind of like, well, this will at least get it in people's hands and justify the cost of the remaster.
That's one of the perfect examples of
interest.
A game that works the best on a handheld and it doesn't get ported to the handheld properly.
Yeah, it's like, why didn't they make it to the Vita? It would have made way more sense just bringing it to the West on the Vita.
That's like remastering Final Fantasy Tactics Advance on. Well, no, that doesn't work because the Switch can be both. But like on the Wii U, no, because then technically it could still kind of work. But yeah, it's like remastering something like that. It's like you mastered a handheld game to the console, but then there's a handheld here that you could also remaster it to and you didn't. It's stupid. It's a waste of time. We have two more questions. Two more questions. Our good buddy Josh Hoopy says, and this is going to be slightly condensed. I don't know if he wants me to read all this out loud just due to the name of the names and stuff.
We've got more than that.
Do we?
Through to the 26th.
No, Discord goes 1 week back.
Yeah, through to the 26th.
No, 1 week back. This is the 31st. 1 week back.
This episode releases on Friday, so.
1 week back from the day of recording. The Monday.
Nope.
Yes, Discord's always done that.
Nope. But okay.
Discord's always done that.
It doesn't matter, but I'm telling you, that's what it is. Because I switched to what I'm asking. The last time I asked was on the 26th on Facebook for Reader Mail 14. So I always do it. You're just broken and don't know what you're doing. But that's
I guess
okay.
so.
Come on, keep going.
Anyways, Josh says, Liam and I grew up in a home that was fairly religious and we were not allowed to listen to music that we wanted to. And then he put in parentheses, we did anyways. That was late 90s and we wanted to listen to rock bands like Marilyn Manson and Slipknot as well as to other hard rock / heavy metal of the time. On several occasions, our parents would take our CDs that we purchased and threw them in the dumpsters or broke them. If we recorded songs off the radio, they would burn the tapes. They wanted us to listen to modern rock or classical rock. So my question is this. I was listening to some of the music from that time as a parent, and I could see where some of the songs that bands were probably not suitable for kids, but other songs lyrically, there's nothing wrong with them whatsoever. They just sound aggressive. What do you guys think is worse for kids? Would you rather have kids listen to bands that have a very aggressive sound, such as Cradle of Filth, lyrically not be all that bad for something, or not be lyrically not all that bad, or something like classic rock? I'm not a parent, so I don't know I don't know what I would do, but I know what I want to do. I grew up in 4th grade, Eminem was hitting hard, and that was going from 4th to 5th grade, and my dad did not like it at all because of his language. Same went for Limp Bizkit. What was ironic was that my dad did not like me listening to them. My dad also had a thing like where he didn't really try to stop me from listening to them. But if I brought him up or whatever, he would just be like, no, I don't know. You should be listening to them anyways. But he would never tell me not to listen to them.
Yeah.
He would always say you shouldn't be. But then when I was listening to things like Linkin Park, which was in the exact same time era, who were very hard and heavy, nobody ever said anything about that.
Yeah.
I think
still aggressive sounding, much like he's talking about.
Yeah.
Lyrically fine, realistically.
I'm just not going to let my kids listen to trash music like Lil Xan or whatever. That's it. I'm just pulling a name out of a hat. Like any kind of SoundCloud rapper, I'm not letting my children listen to.
See, this gets weird.
Just because it's trash music.
And I mean that across the board, it gets weird. I've let Kyrie has listened to stuff because she's been in the car with me. And when you're on a long enough car ride, you just kind of listen to whatever you want to keep yourself awake and active. And if you get a pang, you kind of just lean into it. But I had a very different situation. So my dad growing up, on my side, my dad was the one who introduced me to all those types of music. My dad introduced me to Disturbed, Korn, and now he also listened to classic rock. So I heard stuff like Van Halen and whatnot. But I'd also hear Ozzy and stuff like that coming forward, and Black Sabbath. But realistically, my dad stayed pretty up to date on the music. So I heard about all these bands that I ended up liking in my youth from him. Heard about Linkin Park from him. Heard about 10 Years from him, ironically enough.
That's weird.
Yeah, so there was a lot of newer stuff that he'd let me listen to, and a lot of it was like Godsmack, dude. We'd be in the car, and he'd be like listening to, the... get back on track, get off of my back, bitch.
Is that Godsmack?
It's a Godsmack song from the first album. But
it's ironic how we know so many bands mutually, but we didn't tell each other about them.
Yep. So anyway, we listened to all that stuff, and so that was where my thing came from. But my mom, on the other hand, like I said, my parents were divorced. My mom didn't really care until it became a point where she was worried of how it was going to reflect on her towards other people's vision of her. And it was honestly like she didn't give a damn what I listened to if I would just not show it.
Her look bad.
But if I showed it, then it was like she had issues. So I would dress like like a metalhead emo kid
and listen to Switchfoot.
No, I would do all that stuff. I'd listen to Slipknot, everything at school, dress around, walk around town, go to the mall, dress as I always was. The moment it came time to go to church, she was like, "Take that armband off that has Slipknot on it." You never wore
trips.
One time, and they were very uncomfortable.
Really? I always thought they were very comfortable.
No, I didn't care for them. Partially because of how much they were weighty, because they had chains everywhere.
I guess that's...
And it's like they're uncomfortable when you're trying to sit down and stuff. They get caught on stuff. I hated it.
I felt like tins for legs, it looks like.
Yeah, and I just didn't care for that. It's more like I didn't care for Jinko jeans. It's not for me.
Yeah, Jinko jeans. I had one pair and I didn't like them.
But anyway, and going back to the answer to the question, though, thankfully I didn't have to go through what y'all went through. It wasn't like that. For the most part, I could do what I wanted to. Now, of course, as a rebellious teen, I did some dumb stuff. Like I bought a Trivium shirt from their Shogun album that was in 08, so I was in ninth grade, and I had a shirt that said, "Dear God, the fucking ship is sinking," and my mom just was like, "You're not wearing that in public at all," and tried taking it from me. So instead of course being a smart ass kid, I was like, well, you can take my shirt away from me, but you can't keep me from writing it on my arm. And I just write, "Dear God, the fucking ship is sinking" on my arm to prove a point. Now, in retrospect, as a teenager, stupid.
Yeah.
Well, no, she can't, because the moment I'm out at school or in public, I go, "Hey, can I borrow your Sharpie?" And my point to her was that if you don't want me to do it, there's better ways to go about it than just telling me no. You can talk to me about why you don't want me doing it, why you think I should wait, and then I can wear stuff like that when I become of the age for me to make that decision on my own. Then we can have a conversation. But that's not the way she went about it. It was, "I am the dictator. You're not wearing it because I said so. Take it off. Give it here." And I was like, "Bitch, I paid for this." Because I'm young. I didn't call her a bitch, but in my head.
I'm sure you did.
But still, I was like, I paid for this shirt. I don't really think it's fair for you to take something away that I spent my own money on.
That's true.
And went through that time period.
Yeah, I don't think that anytime if I ever become a parent, then I would never, ever, if my son had or a daughter had a job, I would never take something they bought away from them.
Oh, yeah. And my mom would try and do that a lot.
No.
And
they worked hard for their money. They buy what they want. Long as
that's what I say.
As long as it's not like a choker that says "daddy" on it, I'm like, no, you can. I'm not going to take it away from you, but you can not wear it till you're 18.
Anyway,
then that'll be a hard conversation to have with my son.
The core of the question is: would you rather have kids listen to bands that have a very aggressive sound, such as Cradle of Filth, and not be all that bad, or something like classic rock? The thing about classic rock is, realistically, classic rock is just as lyrically, sometimes even more corrupt than some of the bands that sound aggressive. So it comes down to, you get aggressive sound, and ironically enough, when classic rock was coming out, that was considered aggressive to the parents of the parents who were saying, "Don't listen to that, but listen to this." At the same time, I can almost guarantee you their parents are like, "You shouldn't listen to this filth. It's heavy and aggressive and disgusting." It's something that just constantly rolls through a cycle, and it's annoying, and I hate that it happens that way.
What movie was it that, Van Halen was the devil? Was that wrestling movie with...
Dude, genuinely, I don't know.
It featured Van Halen in the entire movie, too. It was
the band or or a person
like
from Van Halen.
Yeah, no, it was the band, like songs. I think Van Halen's at the end of the movie.
Okay. I mean, either way, it comes down to that situation where I know that that's always been a thing, but for some reason, parents are like, oh, well, even though I'm telling you to listen to this, it's like, dude, classic rock has got some pretty messed up stuff in it sometimes. Sometimes it's fine. You know, you can hear people like Dee Snider sit in front of court and explain what his lyrics behind.
Who's Dee Snider?
Oh, the singer for Twisted Sister.
Oh, okay.
And you know them from their...
I know who they are.
Okay.
They're just terrible.
Anyway, their breakout song, I don't know why you just said that and it skipped my mind. What's their little hit song where... the
sad thing is I know
it's the one that SpongeBob covers with Goofy Goober.
Does that have the word daughter in it?
Goofy Goober, rock, do 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 do. I want to rock. Okay. That's the song. Anyway, there's a bunch of stuff.
Vice City,
because you know it's like turn the radio on, whatever, and then parents say no. Anyway, the song's really not all that bad, but then you have other stuff that's like, really, you want a song? If you're going to get that into the sticks about things, it's like, okay, do you want a song telling your kid to smoke in the boys' room? Really? I mean, is that something you want them to do?
There's also that crutch that you can always go listen to Christian rock and then say, hey, this sounds really cool, but this has cool meaning behind it.
Yeah, I mean, that works too. Like
Under Oath,
POD, guys.
Emery, POD. There's like really good Christian rock bands out there that be like early.
I used to do that with As I Lay Dying because honestly, and they were just the Christians in a band, but it's like my mom would be like, turn that filth off because, you know, like 94 Hours is a crazy song. Anyway, when you go through all that stuff, it's like you can find ways to kind of cheat around it for the parents that have problems with it. But I think it comes down to this: if you personally don't really have any issue with the lyrics, and I think it takes this. Most of those parents wouldn't even know what they were listening to. They just hear it and go about it. I think if you can sit down and really listen to it and try and understand it for what it is, and then from there decide whether your kid should listen to it or not, that's kind of on you. Kyrie, by extension, ends up listening to what we listen to, and that means sometimes she listens to stuff that, in retrospect, I realize she shouldn't have. We're listening to Juice WRLD, and Juice WRLD is an emo rapper, so of course sometimes he talks about stuff she shouldn't necessarily be hearing about. And it was funny, there was a time period where a song came on. I was listening to Juice WRLD's new album, and we only listened to one song with her in the car. But the next day, she's like, "I want to listen to Empty," and that's the name of the song. And I was like, "Oh, okay." She knew the song. I was like, maybe I shouldn't. And I was like, and then she kept saying, "No, Dad, I want to listen to Empty." I was like, "Well, how's the song go?" And I was just curious how much she remembered because I was like, it may already be a lost cause. She goes, "You know the song that goes, I'm empty, I feel so goddamn empty," and she's just singing it like a kid. Yes, and of course, it doesn't help that I find it funny. So used to, you know, I carry around in my truck. For the longest time before I had that Bluetooth adapter in my truck, the only thing I had in there was that Slipknot CD. So it's just what I listened to because radio, I don't care for. And it doesn't work very well. So I was like, okay, here we go, listen to Slipknot. And the song Custer from their last album, Point 5, The Gray Chapter, you know, she ended up loving that song for some reason. So we get home and she's getting dressed and her hair getting brushed. She's like almost 3 at the time. And she's singing, cut me up and fuck me up. And, you know, in retrospect, again, I shouldn't have let her do that, but, you know, she's a kid. She's fine. We talked about the fact that she knows not to cuss to the point where she tells me when I cuss out of, like, if we're listening to a song, that's the agreement. What?
Oh, okay, never mind.
Anyway, if we're listening to a song, that's the agreement. She loves...
what is jam?
What is what?
Jam.
Jam?
Yeah. Just go ahead. It's for a future question. Oh, okay, never mind. Yeah. I know the answer to that instantly.
Well, anyway, I don't know why I can't think of the name of the song. Some people are a lot like clouds, you know.
Well, while you do that, we're going to go on and move on to the next question because we have 4 left.
So anyway, yeah, I'm just going to land on it. It's called Medicine. She knows that she can cuss along in songs if she's singing the song while it's on. Outside of that, she already knows, and she stops me all the time if I go to cuss. She goes, "Daddy, don't say that word."
Yeah.
But her rule, and you can tell her, Hannah would tell her, "Don't say damn," because it says damn in medicine. And she'll go, "I'm just singing the song."
Yeah, I grew up with Limp Bizkit. That wouldn't work for me. Our good buddy Crash, he's also a patron. He says, "Who in your opinion are the best storytellers in music today? Please give multiple examples because if you only give one, I'm pretty sure I'm going to know the answer." Well, I'm only going to give one. That's Coheed. Like, obviously.
Here's the thing about Coheed. It's hard. They're one of the only people that do it that way because every album is a continuing...
Well, technically, what was that Nine Inch Nails album that is a story? What is it called?
Yeah, it's called Year Zero.
Yeah. But...
And I'm wrong. It's a great album.
But that's... Yeah.
And it's a pretty cool story.
That is a story, but I wouldn't consider that continuous storytelling. And that's what Coheed does. It's continuous.
I want to go, because I know it's not what he wants to hear, so I want to go back. If I had to say best storytellers of music today, it's somewhere tied between, and this is different from you. I go to it like when you're listening to a song, how does it make you feel, and can you encompass what the song is trying to tell you? And the song is more about something specific, so that's going to be either between
That's not a story.
Hotel Books and La Dispute.
But that's not
and
a
I do say
story.
that because, yeah, definitely.
No.
The reason I say that is they're self-contained stories, and they're more about, like, when you're going through, there's a lot of songs that are not like that. There's a lot of songs that are just about the way you feel and kind of talking things out. But then there are songs that are very specifically about one thing. And I mean that, and it gets hard. Your obvious answer would be a band that does concept albums, but everybody's done. Stone Sour's done concept albums now. Nine Inch Nails has done concept album. We've seen concept albums from Hawthorne Heights with If Only You Were Lonely. That's a concept album. If that's going to be the criteria, then it gets even more watered down. So I'm going to take it down to a song-by-song basis. If I can tell that there's a story that you're weaving with me across either multiple songs that you put parts on and you're doing it that way, it's a little different. I mean, some songs are about just letting out specific feelings and ideas, and some are about recounting and building up a story. And one of the best songs I've heard, and it's an older song, it's over 10 years old now, La Dispute, their first album, there's a song called The Last Lost Continent. It's a 12-minute song, but genuinely it's one of those songs where I can't imagine it being a second shorter and having the same impact. And part of that is because of the way that it goes about building the story up of what's going on and what it's espousing and what it's talking about. And the song kind of starts with talking about...
Well, don't tell me. I want to listen to it.
Well, okay, fine. Listen to the song if you haven't. Corey, you may have already had. It's off their first album. It's somewhere between the river of... Well, even then, dude, I can't do it justice. I'd literally have... You have to just listen to it and hear it. It's crazy.
It's
now, you have
story.
You have to listen to it. It's very important.
Yeah.
And then there's another song that comes to mind very much as well, and that's Hotel Books, and that's... Wooden Floorboards, and it's specifically him recounting a dream he had that's very vivid, and it's a story. It's about, it's a story about the dream, but it's also about what the dream means and going through all this thing, and he's recounting the entire dream, and like in each step he'll tell you kind of what happened in the dream and then why it made him feel the way it did, and then kind of keep going step by step, and it's a great storytelling process in that way. I think there's definitely some times that people do music where they kind of tell a story, but they do it through a little bit more vague way, and it's like, well, you can kind of pull what you want to out of this, but then there's times like that where I feel like it's pretty on the nose. It's like, what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So
another one for me is the story of the robot with the human hair, and it's a song series that Gans Gavin Dance has been doing since their very first album, and the songs are called literally The Robot with Human Hair Part 1, and it's literally telling the story about a robot with human hair. And each music video they have for each one, I don't think they have them for all of them.
Well, and they go on, right? They're not all called parts, but they all use the name robot somewhere. So like you have Son of Robot. Yeah. There were parts, but then it started evolving.
The newer one was Son of Robot, and then
there was Young Robot.
Young Robot, yeah.
And then there was Son of Robot. Yeah. So but they're definitely connected. Definitely the music videos.
Yes, the music videos are super cool because
the songs it's a little harder to tell. And that gets weird the songs don't sound like they're obviously connected.
No, that is a thing though, is that
but the videos are very obviously
if
connected.
You listen to the songs 1 through 4 with Young Robot and Son of Robot, or Son of Robot and Young Robot, technically in chronological order, then you will notice that the song is telling the story of of that robot, and like that there's elements and the bad guy and stuff that's in there. So it's pretty good. Oathkeeper says, should they make Destiny 3, or do you think they should just keep adding all the content into Destiny 2? There's two things that me and Brett both want the exact same, and we're not going to get it, unfortunately. We both want Destiny 2 to stay Destiny 2 forever. We don't want Destiny 3, but we are going to get Destiny 3. They're going to have to do engine fixes. They're going to have to get it to run on consoles at 60 frames per second. And they're going to have to change a little bit of the engine up for that. They've already said that on Twitter. So there is parts that they're going to have to fix that certain armor mechanics and stuff like that they can't do in just updates. Certain gun mechanics and stuff like that, they have to do it in a
But they can. That's the biggest problem.
They can't.
And the reason I say that is because there's been other games that have done the exact same thing.
It doesn't matter. They're not using the same engine. It's the way they built their current engine that they're on. They don't have the resources. Don't forget they're an indie developer now.
I understand that.
So they do
have money, but it's not about that. It's that there are other people. You can take it outside of things like World of Warcraft into something more like Guild Wars 2 or Guild Wars.
Those are still massive.
They're made by NCSoft.
They're still massive games.
Okay, so what we talk about? It's
not
Tencent.
And they're also on PC, and they've also probably built their game to go on like that, where Destiny never did that.
Well, their game, Destiny 2 specifically, was always planned for PC. So why would Destiny 2 not be planned to have a scalable engine? Everything has a scalable engine.
And it probably had to do with the contract of Activision making them make 3.
I just don't know why they'd go forward it. To me, I think it just needs to stay Destiny 2 forever. And on top of that, they need to pull all Destiny 1 content into Destiny 2.
I agree, but there are bug fixes and stuff and tweaks in the game that we need to get that can't be made. Like, they just don't have the time and resources. They've said that on Twitter. So
I think that they've just made a decision that they don't want to do it, and that's all.
Well, no, I think that they had I really think the contract Activision screwed them over. And when they said that there has to be a trilogy for Destiny 1, 2, and 3, then that has to be.
Well, all engines are scalable, and the reason they even say that is that Destiny 2 runs on a updated version of Destiny 1's engine, and then Destiny 3 will just be an updated version of Destiny 2's engine.
And that's probably what they're thinking is it's probably easier just to go ahead and scrap half of the stuff that people complain about in Destiny 2, like enhancement cores and stuff, and then port them on over into Destiny 3 with something else. And then instead of just making it one big release. Because the Shadow keeps already changing so much that people are overwhelmed. But I think that it should stay I think they should just make it Destiny New Light or whatever it's called, or Lost Light, whatever it's called.
Yeah, I think it's New Light.
What was your first impression of each other? This man dyed his fingernails. Or painted his fingernails.
Oh, I used to color them in with Sharpies when I was bored.
Yeah, they're black.
Yeah, I've never actually painted my nails.
Yeah. It was a good job, though, black. Fingernail. Or
I guess.
Black Sharpie.
I used to draw all over my skin because I was bored.
But I thought he might have been a school shooter.
You'd almost need to see a picture of me in the time period to understand.
Yeah, like, it's terrifying. But no, like, I knew him
When was the first time that we officially met? Was that in Spanish class?
Yeah.
So.
I knew him as an extension of my brother, but the first time we met, he showed me his custom CSGO game.
Oh,
on
yeah.
PSP. Yeah, that you made through GameMaker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was it. And then we stayed pretty good acquaintances through Spanish class. And then eventually...
Then Saul took half the year off.
More than half the year off. Pretty much my whole senior year off to go to for homebound, which is homeschool through the school we went to. And but even then, in that time, you were still coming over to hang out with Seth at Ed's, and you'd spend the night, and we played Unreal Tournament and Resistance. Yep. And
so first impression.
Did we play Quake?
No.
Okay.
We played Unreal Tournament 3.
First impressions were that you had the same music interests as me.
I can see that.
And it's very rare to meet somebody out in the wild in our town at our age to have somebody that has the exact or have very similar music preferences, and they didn't come from recommendations you made.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody who just had that natural interest in it.
Did you have any preconceived notions of who I was or what I was based off of what Seth told you about me?
Seth didn't talk about you.
Okay, so inverse of that situation.
I know, Seth made me out to be like a jerk.
Well, hold on, though. This is something that happens with younger brothers and their older brothers.
Yeah.
I used to talk crap on my brother.
Well, we talked about it
partially
before.
because older brothers tend to treat their little brothers like crap.
Yeah.
It's just a thing.
And we brought it up on the podcast before that essentially it's just like, I was essentially the big brother bully.
It was hard to have a first impression of you because I already had a mental image from Seth that was like, he's kind of douche. He's kind of a douche. He's real self-centered, and technically all teenagers are self-centered. That's what you don't realize at the time.
Yeah.
But you think, well, I'm less self-centered than him, even in retrospect or whatever. But no, it was all based off of things that Seth told me, and of course, sometimes older brothers are or younger brothers are jealous of their older brothers, or they're not. Sometimes they just don't like them because they've been treated bad by them. Things like that. So yeah, my first impression of you coming into it, the first day I met you, I was like, oh, I got science class or Spanish class with this guy. I was like, okay, well, from what I know, he's an asshole. And then it was kind of one of those weird things where I've been told you're an asshole, and then we're talking, I'm like,
this dude ain't no asshole.
I'm like, I don't see it.
Yeah.
but you used to have that thing of like, maybe he's hiding it really good.
And then of course that never really came out.
Yeah. So, it was one of those weird things. And luckily it's ironic that me and you hang out way more than me and Seth do now. I mean, I'm still friends with Seth.
I used to think Blaze was a drug dealer because of what Seth told me.
Good Lord.
I used to think Blaze was like a high-class drug dealer for people in high school.
Never.
Yeah, I know. But like, it's just
he did drugs in high school.
Yeah, that's where it came from. And then there was a specific story I'll tell you after the podcast.
Okay.
But the last question up for the week, we have our good buddy Josh Shoop once again, and he says jam or jelly. Favorite flavor. I had to Google the difference because I get those two mixed up. And jam is the one with fruit preserves in it.
Yep.
And then jelly is pretty much just fruit preserve concentrate that's spreadable
and a bunch of sugar.
So I'm gonna say jelly.
I prefer jam. And it really does. The reason I say I prefer jam is it depends on what you're talking about. If we're talking about jelly, I love grape jelly.
I'm thinking toast and like PB&J.
Yeah, so for
that's all I eat it with.
Yeah, I guess. I think that I really like blueberry jam, and the reason that you go with jam on that is that blueberry actually, when you get the jam, it actually has pieces of blueberry in it, and it tastes far more texturally and even sweet wise. It tastes like a blueberry. When you get into, I've had blueberry jelly, and it's weird because it doesn't feel right.
Yeah, blueberry jelly doesn't taste like anything. It's very weird.
It tastes artificial.
Well, the one
I don't think that it is. I think it's just because the blueberries aren't there.
If you have a blueberry, they don't really taste strongly of what the artificial flavor represents.
Oh no, not at all.
They don't taste anything like that.
That's why I like blueberries. They're sweet, but they're really not that sweet.
I had a single raw blueberry for the first time in my life like 4 years ago.
Good Lord.
I've had them in muffins. I've had them in cookies.
Oh, okay, yeah, I go.
I'm talking about just like a single raw blueberry.
By itself, yeah.
It had no taste. It had the faintest of
Yeah,
taste.
it's why I like it. It's a good snack.
Yeah,
you can throw a couple in your mouth.
That's what they were. They were frozen too, so they're real good.
Oh yeah,
but
you get that little snap.
But yeah, and just like frozen grapes. But yeah, like I'm gonna go with this question as if I'm making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or like buttered toast and putting the jelly on the toast. I'm gonna go with jelly instead of jam. But if there's another instance whether this is weird, putting it on crackers because that's a thing, or anything else, you go jam. You go jam for fancy stuff. You go jelly for toast and sandwiches.
Pancakes, jam.
Jam.
I'm glad you said that.
I've actually had jam on. There was a pancake that Waffle House IHOP did that was really, really good. And it was peaches and cream, I guess, I think is what it was. Where it was essentially like a stack of pancakes with like a ring of peaches around them that were real peaches, and then peach preserves on top or peach jam on top.
Was it jam or was it compote?
It was not compote.
Okay.
Compote's real like dense.
Yes, it's thick.
And
jam, that's why I actually don't.
Jam's thinner.
As much as I like blueberries,
I do not like.
IHOP uses blueberry compote. It's too strong.
I don't. Yeah. This was back, and then they had strawberry version of this. Except theirs gave me an allergic reaction because there is a certain. It's called preservative B, and I'm really sensitive to preservative B. I'm not allergic to it, but I will break out in a rash somewhere on my body.
Yeah, I got you. All right, well that was it.
That's it. That's it for episode 15. I'm gonna go get me some Wendy's and dip it in Chick-fil-A sauce. Be sure.
Do you keep them in your car?
Do I have Chick-fil-A sauce in my car?
Yes, or do you keep it at home?
No, it's in my cabinet.
I figured.
Always have sauces on deck. I put a picture in Discord before where I was just like, "These are my sauces," and it was like all.
You have a sauce drawer?
Oh, it's a sauce cabinet.
Oh,
it's so much it won't fit in a drawer.
That's a lot.
I'm not kidding when I say I have like 20 Chick-fil-A sauces.
That's a lot.
And I still have Chick-fil-A Ranch, Chick-fil-A Barbecue, Chick-fil-A Polynesian.
You need to get a drawer like my silverware drawer where it's really wide and like double, because then you can just have it perfectly.
I promise you it's not enough. But thank you guys. Be sure to ask us questions on Discord, Twitter, and Facebook for next episode 16. So
and if you like what we're doing here, subscribe to us on YouTube if you're watching on there.
Hit that like button.
Get all that stuff. Hit that like button. Share the video with anybody that you think may enjoy it.
Sharing is very important. Sharing is caring.
And if you want to support us in the show in any form or fashion, go to patreon.com/nartech and get stuff early, or whatever you want to do. But we'll see you guys next time, and we thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to our patrons, Chad V, Dan Barber, Josh Jarrell, Matthew Green, my name is Dan, Douglas Below, Sean Santarud, Eric McAllister, Matt Sycamore, Shadowist, Steven Salazar, The Stonard, Travis Below, Eduardo Palomino, Stefan Swanlin, Coy Live, Philip LaGuerre, Corey Hickerson, Brian, Donovan Williams, William Digital Spooker, Derek Porter, Josh Ayers, Thomas McKinnis, Brandon Edwards, and Sean One Neo. Thank you.